Today we're multiplying integers. Okay, please remember that the rules I give you today and tomorrow when we do dividing do not apply for addition and subtraction. They do not apply. Alright? So when I tell you a rule today, that doesn't mean that addition and subtraction is the same way. Okay? That's why these are different rules. That's why we haven't given you the same rules. Okay? The rule you need to know is multiplying integers with different signs. Now, the first two rules we're going to talk about, these only occur, okay, when you're doing two numbers. Okay? Then I'm going to give you a rule when you do more than two integers. For this, when multiplying integers with different signs, it is negative. Okay? If one's positive, one's negative, negative wins out every time. So 3 times negative 5, okay, it's negative. Before I even work out the problem, I figure out, is it positive or is it negative? I have opposite signs. Okay, that always is going to be negative. So 3 times 5 is 15. So my answer is negative 15. Do not forget the negative. That's why I do it first, because that's the most important thing. If you don't have the negative sign on there when it's negative, okay, the whole problem's wrong. All right? All right, write down this rule. Multiplying with the same sign, it's positive. Okay, this applies when you're multiplying two integers. So if they have the same sign, they're positive. If they have opposite signs, they're negative. Same sign's positive. It doesn't matter if they're both negative or both positive. It will always be positive. So negative 4 times negative 3, I know they have the same sign, so my answer has to be positive. Then I just do 4 times 3, which is 12. 4 times 3, they're both positive, so my answer has to be positive. 4 times 3 is 12. Alright, now write this down. Now I'm going to teach you a rule when we're multiplying with more than two integers. Alright, like I said, what I like to do is I like to figure out if my answer is going to be positive or negative before I even work it out. Okay, so I have come up with a rule to figure it out. Okay? It has to do with this. If it's an even number of negative signs, okay, then my answer is going to be positive. So what I do is I count the number of negative signs. If I get an even number, 2, 4, 6, it's going to be positive. If I get an odd number of negative signs, it's going to be negative. Okay? Because I like to know if I got a positive answer or a negative answer before I even work it out. Then, as I work it out, I make sure that I got it right. So, here's what I do. Hey, I would do negative 4 times negative 5 first, because I know what 4 times 5 is, which is what? 20. Hey, negative 4 times negative 5, they have the same sign, so what's my answer got to be? Positive. So 4 times 5 is 20. Then I take 20 times 12, which is 240. Okay? Was I right on my rule? An even number of negative signs is going to be positive. Did I get a positive number? Yes, I did. Okay? So I can check. If I got a negative answer, then I either did something wrong in my calculations or I didn't count all my negative signs. I have 2 negative signs, so it has to be positive. Write this down. Negative 3 times negative 2 times negative 6. First thing I do is I count my negative signs. 1, 2, 3. So my answer has to be what? Negative. Okay, because it's an odd number of negative signs. Then I just go through, okay, you have to show your work on your homework anyway, so I work everything out and I see if my answer is really negative. Negative 3 times negative 2, they're same sign, so I get positive 6. Then I take positive 6 times negative 6. Okay? Negative 36. Okay? I said my answer had to be negative. My answer is negative. That means I'm probably right. Any questions? Write this down. You're going to see problems like this where you have to simplify. Okay? Simplify just means work out all possible operations. So we have negative 7a times 4b. A and B are variables. They're unknown amounts. So they're not going to change. We just leave them as A and B. All we can do is times negative 7 times 4. Which what is negative 7 times 4? Negative 28. Opposite signs give me a negative answer. And then A times B. Okay? Negative 28 AB. That should be your answer. Write this down. Negative 9x times 3y. So I take negative 9 times 3 and then xy. What is negative 9 times 3, Jesse?
Negative 27.
Okay, so we have negative 27xy. You're going to see problems like this where it says evaluate. Okay, where you actually solve it out. So we have 3xy. Right? In a couple of homeworks last week, I have people putting in 2 for x and negative 6 for y, but then thinking that's my answer, 326. Okay, it's not funny. That's what people did. That's an honest mistake. Okay, that is why I told Sam earlier, okay, when I have variables, I don't put them inside parentheses, but when I plug in the numbers, that's when I put parentheses in, because this is timesing. This is 3 times x times y. So when I put in 2 for x, I put inside parentheses, so I know it's not 32, it's 3 times 2. And then I put negative 6 in parentheses. Okay? Work it out. Okay? If you made that mistake last week, don't make the same mistake again. Okay? This is not 326. It is 3 times 2 times negative 6. My rule says I have an odd number of negative signs. I have 1. So my answer has to be negative. Now work it out. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times negative 6. Negative 36. That's all you have to do. Here's your homework.